Hi everyone, I'm Trisha Morris at Club Scrap and welcome to the Golden Hour Page Kit Assembly Workshop. This is an absolutely beautiful set of pages. I adore the color scheme, and it's funny because as I've been driving around during this season, I'm seeing so many beautiful sunsets, sunrises even, that would be beautiful with these pages. And plus I had a bunch of pictures I took over the summer that happened to have sunsets in them, so I will have no shortage of photos for these beautiful pages, and I hope that you find the same to be true for you as well. No matter where you live in the world, I think these pages will be very, very useful. Okay, so I've got my instructions printed out, and if you choose to print yours, that's great. If not, that's fine as well. And of course, I have that Golden Hour kit. I'd like to give a special shout out of welcome to our brand new members. If you're here for the very first time, just a word of encouragement to you. It will probably feel like I'm going a little fast. If that's the case, just be sure to go to your YouTube player. On the lower right corner, there's a gear icon. If you click that, it'll take you to speed settings, and you can slow me way down, choose 0.75 or 0.5 even, and that will slow down the information I'm delivering to you so that you can keep up without a problem. And I promise that after you work with us a little bit, you will keep up with us at 100% speed just fine. Okay, so there's a process that we go through. I've got my trimmer here and an accordion pocket file that helps me stay organized with my 4 pockets. If you don't have something like this quite yet, reach out to us for some help in figuring out how to make this happen for yourself. This is a great organizational tool. But if you don't have this, just have 4 piles, one for each of the double page spreads we'll be making. Now, tradition states that the first thing we will do is we can file our photo mats. These are the pre-cut photo mats that come in our monthly page kits. So let's get these filed in their appropriate spot. We'll start out with 3 purple photo mats, and those will go in pocket 1 and 2. And then we can add 2 light orange. So this is the light orange, yellow, and dark orange. So grab 2 light orange, put that also in pocket 1 and 2. Then we need 3 dark orange mats for layouts 3 and 4. And looking ahead, we'll add 1 light orange mat to 5 and 6. And finally 3 yellow photo mats into pocket 7 and 8. Okay, now with that done, we'll now be organizing our papers for trimming. So there are a few other embellishments you'll find, and I usually have, if I'm teaching this as a live workshop, I have students leave these items in the bag the kit came in so that nothing gets misplaced during this next process. Now, this is kind of an unusual inclusion. We don't always get the chance to include die cuts, but this is such a cool opportunity. And you'll notice that all these little strips are separated, and we need to, they're separated in the middle, but not on the edges, that is. So if you just place your sheet of die cuts into your trimmer at 12 1/4 inches, and this Fiskars trimmer, by the way, does go all the way to 12 1/4, which is super handy, and just give that a little cut. Then carefully rotate the whole entire piece, and we are going to trim this time at 12. So we just did a 180-degree turn, and what that will do is separate your pieces. They're just going to be joined just a little tiny bit at one edge perhaps, but for the most part they're separated. Why don't we go ahead and file these pieces as long as we have them all trimmed up. And painted skies we'll add to pocket 7 and 8. And then same for this next strip with the circle in it. That's pocket 7 and 8. This whole entire piece goes in 5 and 6. And just make note that there are some pop-outs here. And if you really want to make sure you don't have any perforation marks, you can just take a little craft knife and make a slight cut around the perforation there before you pop these out to avoid that little extra hanging chad, shall we say? Is that appropriate for the season? Okay, this goes in pocket 5 and 6. Let's see. We have this little scoopy piece that goes in pocket 1 and 2. And then you do need to pop out the dragonfly. So now is a good time as any for me to show you how that works. So I'm just kind of taking the tip of a craft knife, and here I can tell there's a little nick that prevented it from falling out of its little home until you choose to. So you can pop these out, no problem, but it does just leave that little tiny piece of paper hanging up, which I don't really like. So if you're a perfectionist, you know, in certain ways, that's a great way to take care of that. All right, so now this dragon, or I guess it's a firefly, this goes in pocket 7 and 8, and then this really beautiful piece goes in 3 and 4. Oh, the word beautiful, if you want, you can pop that out as well. And so I'll just come in, grab those ends with the tip of my craft knife. Looks like I've got 2 on the horizontal as well. So just, again, it's optional. I did not do this the first time I used it, but I would have preferred to have that nice and neat. Okay, so the word beautiful and this piece is all used in pocket 3 and 4. Finally, this creates a really cool faux file tab looking situation. We're going to pop that into the pocket for 5 and 6. Okay, next I'd like to have you put the paper in the order in which it will be trimmed. And what I like to do is just hold the paper in the crook of my arm and then deal it out face down on the top of my trimmer base. So the first piece I want you to find is this stunningly gorgeous wildflower print. It just ombres from this deep purple all the way up to this golden color here. So just put that face down on your trimmer. And then we're going to switch to the bird print, put that face down on your trimmer. Next, let's find one of the purple planes. You'll notice right away it has this gorgeous linen texture. It's really exceptional. Then an orange. Let's see, this is light orange now. So just make sure of the 2 oranges, you grab the one that has sort of this dimpled cloud stipply look. I don't know, it's really a beautiful, beautiful sheet. Next, we're going to find the cut apart that has this gorgeous silhouette border and the fireflies on the other edge. And then the other cut apart, which has this large tag and some journaling tags on it. Continuing on with our sorting, I'll have you take this other bird print face down, and then the other linen textured purple plain. How about the other wildflower print next, followed by the light orange plain that remains. Just one of those should be left. Next, we need 2 of the yellow plains and then 2 of the dark orange plains. And let's flip that whole stack right side up again. If you missed any of those, you can go back and watch it again. But otherwise, if it's not in the right order, just always confirm you're grabbing the right sheet of paper as we trim. Okay, for my veterans, this might be brand new to you, but this is the first time we haven't included the cut aparts on the front page. I actually have a more detailed version for the cut aparts in the instructions on step 5 and 6. So that's going to be different for you. We're doing a little experiment where we're removing the registration marks from the cut aparts for the first time, and I'll just walk you through that. All right, let's take this first print that we have set aside here, and we're going to trim with it right side up in the trimmer base. Find 10 inches. Again, if you're new, make sure your paper is level at the top edge. Push down on this clear bar every single time you make a cut. Then slide down to 5.5 inches. Stabilize, slice. Gather up the 2 larger pieces you created. Those are going to go in pocket 1 and 2. And I just kind of put them off to the side so that I still can see the numbers and letters on the left here. And then this last narrower strip, we'll put that in pocket 7 and 8. Okay, next up we have our sunset print. So let's place this one into the trimmer with this landscape area on the right. Make sure the birds are on your left. And we'll cut it 9 and 5.5. The 5.5 inch piece lands in pocket 3 and 4. And then this next strip, we're going to trim it. So let's cut horizontally at 11.5 and 5 3/4. These 2 pieces are placed in pocket 3 and 4. And I hate to tell you this, but this is your scrap. We will not be using that. And then this landscape portion is also placed in pocket 3 and 4. And we're moving on to the top of page 2 of the instructions where you'll see the purple plain. Let's begin by trimming at 6 inches. And then we'll stack the 2 pieces and rotate them horizontally and cut both pieces at the same time at 8. Stabilization is important here. And 4. All right, we can gather up all these pieces that are the same. Let's deal them out. We're going to find 4 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4. Put those in pocket 5 and 6. And then the other 2 will go in 7 and 8. Okay, next up we have the light orange plain. We're going to trim and create a narrow piece. So that means I'm going to give you a really big number. It's 11 3/4. So 11, 11 1/4, 11 1/2, 11 3/4. Then slide to 8. And then finally 4. Rotate this piece and trim at 10 and 6. Now we've made one 4x6 piece. That goes in pocket 1 and 2. Now we have a square, 4x4 square, that goes in pocket 7 and 8. And this last little 2x4, we're going to trim it in half and make them into 2x2s. And those go in pocket 3 and 4. Lots of numbers there. Now the next 4x12, we're going to trim that. Very, very easy this time. We're just going to cut at 8 and 4. And now we just made 3 more 4x4 squares for pocket 7 and 8. Next, take this strip and trim at 11 1/4, 7 1/2, 3 3/4. Gather up the 3 squares. These are a little smaller than the others, and these go in pocket 5 and 6. And once again, you created, I'm sorry to tell you, a little tiny scrap. Okay, now we're going to be trimming of the cut aparts. And as I mentioned before, normally we have these little marks that guide you through the cutting process. The problem is that then the marks are still there even when you're done cutting, and sometimes it can be a little bit of a distraction. So I'm just going to give you the measurements, follow along with me, and place this into the trimmer with the fireflies on the right. Let's cut at 10 3/4, then 10, 9 1/4, 6 1/2, and 3 1/2. Let's take this piece and place it in pocket 5 and 6. Now this next strip, and it's really important that you allow these pieces to accumulate because, and then we'll do a rotation to trim them into individual sections if needed. Now just double check to make sure that the measurement matches the space between the elements to make sure the orientation of your turn was correct. In this case, we'll cut at 8 and 4 1/2. So if you had that in upside down, you'd be cutting through an image. So just be careful and aware of that. This goes into 5 and 6. This is the wildflower silhouette. And then the word piece, and then the other quote, they both go in pocket 3 and 4. If you're lost and you're wondering where in the world are you learning that information, this is step 5, and each piece of artwork has the number of the page pair that it will get filed into, so you can keep track of that. Now this next section, we're going to trim horizontally at 7 1/2, again making sure this larger piece is on the left, and both of these elements go in pocket 1 and 2. Then my favorite color is sunset. That will be 5 and 6. I just need you in some sunsets. That's 7 and 8, and then our fireflies go in 1 and 2. Okay, next up is the remaining cut apart. Oh, my apologies. There is this tiny little 1/4 inch strip. You're probably wondering what in the world I'm supposed to do with it. This goes, believe it or not, in pocket 3 and 4. Okay, with the next cut apart, we'll make sure our border strips are on the right. So as a policy, I'll always put the tiniest pieces on the right edge and the largest pieces on the left. We want as much as possible on the trimmer base. Okay, our first number here is 10 3/4. And I just always visually verify that you're going to be cutting through, you know, in the appropriate area. Then 9 1/2. 7 1/2. And 4 1/2. Now we rotate Again, larger piece goes to the left as just a habit for you. We'll cut this one at 9 and 6.5. Take this piece and the next one that says take the time to stop and think. Both of these are filed in 3 and 4. And the remaining quote from that strip, watch the day become the night, that goes in 5 and 6. Just a little easy cut here at, I believe it's going to be 9 inches. Yes. Okay, this large strip, 7 and 8. And the smaller circle, 1 and 2. Then these are just going to trim out at 9, 6, and 3. 9, 6, and 3. So we've got 2 verticals. Put one of them in pocket 3 and 4, and the other tag in 7 and 8. Now we have 2 horizontal tags. Put one of them in pocket 1 and 2, and the other in 5 and 6. Okay, I think that's all. Oh, wait a minute, there's a good 2 more. My apologies. Both of these strips go in pocket 3 and 4. I believe that marks the end of our trimming work. So now we can get on to assembly. So here's what I want you to do. Turn to, if you have them printed, turn to page 4 of your instructions. Lock your trimmer base, support your accordion pocket file, and remove the trimmer because the trimmer is what holds it up. And I'll set that trimmer aside. And I'm going to lay my accordion pocket file on its back at this point. And now we're going to do my favorite quick thing, the stack and slide, or slide and stack. Let's take the remaining pieces of paper and imagine in front of you in your workspace you have a room for a double page spread. I hope you all have room for that, just a 12 by 24 inch area. And take this entire pile, the whole entire stack, not just one sheet, and place it on the left. Here is the center of your workspace. Now slide the top sheet to the right. This gives you the base papers for layouts 7 and 8, which we will dry fit first. By dry fit, I just mean we're going to place everything on here without adhesive. And what that does is make sure we have everything in its proper place before we start sticking things down, and maybe we want to rearrange something. This just gives us some freedom and flexibility. Then go to your accordion pocket file and grab everything out of the 4th pocket, or the pocket labeled 7 and 8 rather. And what we need to do then is find a home for all of these pieces. And I usually just try to build things from the bottom up. So if I have larger strips and things like that, I begin with that. So I'll take this 2 by 12 strip from the Wildflower print, and that's going to go on the far left edge. And then right next to it is this beautiful little die cut strip, and it has this circle which I'll then overlap onto the other border here. Remember those 4 by 4 inch squares that we created? Look how these are going to fit. So I'll put one in this corner here, one below it, and then this one is going to just slide slightly underneath that circular die cut, and then fits really, look at the fit there. It's just absolutely perfect. Then this long strip will be placed at the bottom, and then we can take the yellow mat that will be placed in the upper right corner, one of them. I just grabbed 2 by accident. And we've got 2 more vertical yellow mats here that have a companion in that beautiful purple linen color. Those will be vertical. And then you will have this little chunk. Got my toolbox handy right here, and just take a little snip out of this so that it falls out. It kind of creates this cool look because when you place these elements on the page, look where that happens to fall. It just, it was like it was meant to be, right? Okay, now here we have a tag and we have this strip of words. So I've got some tips I want to share with you regarding those 2 items. I'll grab my cutting mat, and I have a little grid ruler and my craft knife that I used earlier. So we have several different sizes of grid rulers. This is a 2 by 8, a nice handy size. And what I basically do is just take the first dashed line on the ruler and line it up with the angle on that side of the tag, and then just use a craft knife to remove it, and then it has more of a tag shape. Now here's another little tip. If, like, let's say this looks just a little wide for me, I will verify my distance here and maybe just shave a little bit off the edge to make that look really nice. And if I want, I can do that on the bottom as well. Just kind of, if you want to clean things up a little. I wasn't really all that careful there. clean things up a little bit with your tag, you certainly can. Obviously, I've made it worse by cutting too much off the bottom, so pardon me. Yeah, okay. That is the tag. Now, what I ended up doing is taking a piece of this beautiful satin purple ribbon that comes in your kit, and then I just tend to take my scissors and cut off a piece that's shaped with opposing angled corners. That way when you fold it in half with the grain direction of the ribbon, in other words, the way the ribbon wants to go, you can place it here and staple it in place. After that, an option is to, your charms won't come in a little bag, you just have to keep track of them. You can add this beautiful bronze, or gold rather, sun charm to the piece. Now, all of the charms come with a hanging hole, and an option would be to remove that with a metal cutter. I happen to have a needle nose pliers that has a snipping area, so just really carefully protect your eyes. You can remove that. And there you go. Now you just have a sun charm without a hanging hole. Now here's another tip involving this large piece here. You'll notice on my finished version of the layout, which I will show you right now, that I have all of this text broken apart from the parent sheet. The strip here is designed to, either be placed as a border or used confetti or graffiti style, not confetti, graffiti style. Here's how I went about that. I took one of our larger grid rulers and I lined it up so that I could get rid of as much of the paper around the word as possible. And you can use the grid to your advantage here to make sure you're level. I'm looking at the letter J, which I would say has a descender, and you want to make sure you don't cut that off. So go as close to the J as you can. Now, press very, very firmly with the ruler and use the craft knife to remove that narrow strip. Then flip everything around so you're comfortable, and repeat that for the other side. Just strip this out as close as you can to the characters on the strip. Press very firmly. Make sure you have a nice sharp blade on your knife. Okay, at this point you can just use scissors to separate the words into their appropriate sections. So I used sunsets by itself, pretty much everything. So just snip away, and even removing the space between each word. So and is separate. You. If you have a tiny little trimmer, you could do it, but with that big one, it's a little bit harder. I kept I just together. Now, as you are ready to assemble this, probably not at this point, but when you are ready to stick everything down, I just made a trial run here and temporarily positioned everything in its place. So I just, and this carries over the border strip, need you and some sunsets. And it's adorable. You can arrange this however you like. And then on top of that, I wonder if he's still in my pocket. There should be the little circle. Yep, he's in there. If you want, you can ink the edges of this a little bit if you like, and then that you can layer onto this spot right here with a foam adhesive circle. Now for this other section, I used scissors to round these corners. So all you're going to do is just sort of follow along, starting where that curve starts to occur in the printing. Just make nice, clean cut on the curve. Then if you happen to have a hole punch, a 1/4 inch hole punch will work. Otherwise the crocodile on the larger hole setting will take care of that. Finally, you can take some of this beautiful, the satin, it's so gorgeous. At 7/8 of an inch, it's very eye-catching. And thread the ribbon through the tag. But again, I think I've explained this in a past collection. It might even have been last month, where now you can just fold this in half and adjust your length so that it can go across the bottom of the page, spread the ribbon apart, and wrap the ends around to the back without actually tying a knot. And that will be absolutely gorgeous. Now on the right side of this page, I use the same ribbon to make a bow. So I'm going to show you how I do those really sweet, easy bows. First, I always check the way the ribbon wants to wrap. So here it curls in the right direction. Here it curls away from me. So if I make 2 ears, like so, 2 loops, just like that, and they're connected in the middle, right? And then you cross them. Now this one's in the front and this one's in the back. So take the front loop, swing it back and through the hole below, and then pull. Now when you pull, it's not going to look all that pretty, but all you need to do is just kind of adjust the ends of the ribbon and tighten everything up at the knot. And then you have a gorgeous page embellishment ready to be placed right here. Adjust, again, the length of the loops as needed, the length of the tail as well with your scissors. And I attach my ribbon with glue dots or glue lines. It seems to work really well. So one more look at these finished pages. Here is page 8, all finished up with the bow attached. So, so pretty. And then the stapled ribbon with the sun charm on the left corner. Then on page 7, you've got the ribbon wrapping around to the back. I just secured it with tape. I know, Karen, you always uses washi tape in a spot like this, which almost makes it pretty from the back side as well. And then this, again, was inked with earth ink on the edges and then popped with a foam adhesive circle. To attach these, I used our book binding glue from a needle tip applicator. Works great. Now I did mention earlier the slide and stack. So now we've got these 2 stacks. On the right is page 8, on the left is page 7, and all the pages that go before it. So I'm going to pick up page 7 and slide it, just that one paper, on top of page 8. I'll probably move this bow out of the way so it's not bulky. And then I'm going to slide this next sheet on top of page 7. So in front of me now, I have the base for layouts 5 and 6. And that's going to be here on top of page 4 in your instructions. And of course, I need to empty the pocket for layout 5 and 6. Okay. Everything in here should be used on this page. And once again, I'll try to start out with some of these larger strips. So I've got this landscape that's going to go at the top on the left side. And then I've got this kind of nifty file-shaped border strip with a vertical quote here. That's going to go on the right side. This piece goes on the left. Just below here, we've got our beautiful strip. Then we're going to take our 2 purple mats here. They're all the same size. You don't need to concern yourself with it. Put them vertically on the left side. Now on the right, one of these purple mats will fit on top of the light orange that you have. So place that here. And then beneath it, we're going to tuck this under and bring that under here. And what that's going to do is create sort of this fake file folder shape. It's kind of cool. This will go up. Nice. Now across the bottom, we have 3 squares to distribute equally. I always use my grid ruler, the larger one that I showed you, with the 0 center to help center these elements. So I find my center and then add the middle one first and equally space the remaining 2 on the left and right. I chose to keep this this quote all in one piece running it across there just to create some space. And then this little guy pops in right here. Now, you're also going to notice a journaling prompt. I clipped the corners and slid that right behind here with the addition of some stapled yellow, beautiful girl grain ribbon here. Now, a couple of finishing touches you might notice will be some stenciling in the corner of the left page. So I'll show you the right page very quickly. Here it is, everything adhered. There's no other dimensional embellishment on this sheet. And then on page 5, here we have our little elements inked and popped. And across the bottom on the left and right, we have some stenciling. So I'm going to show you how this stenciling works. Now the stencil came in your kit. This is one that I've used before. Of course, yours will be pristine until you start using it a little bit. And I have our desktop grid paper. And I'm just going to take my sheet that I've been working with and place this on that paper temporarily and scoot things out of the way so that I can freely stencil into this area. Because we are going to be going off the edge of the paper, I just want to protect my work surface. And now I'm grabbing some of Club Scrap's Earth ink, and one of our ink applicator brushes. So the first time you stencil with a brush, it's probably going to be dry, and I keep one brush for these darker colors, and I'm going to go in a circular motion on the top of the pad to just transfer some ink. Then I'm going to press firmly down on the stencil after I have it placed so I can have some nice scenery. Maybe in this corner I'm going to go like this. And then in a circular motion, I'll apply that ink into the opening of the stencil. Of course, go back for more ink as needed. It doesn't take a lot of ink or a lot of pressure, really, just like a scrubbing motion almost. You'll be surprised. On my sample, the stencil had moved a little bit, so you may notice that in the close-ups that I took, but you'll get the idea. Ta-da! Oh. Okay, then I'll bring this over to the right side, and I can grab a different spot on the stencil if I want, or the same. And I will do the same thing to this area here. And now I have this beautiful addition to my layout. It's totally custom, totally mine, and you can do the same. You could stencil all across the bottom if you wanted to, but what a nice addition for that page. I love that, just that softness that the stencil creates, and you control how crisp or how soft it is by the amount of ink and pressure that you use. Time for slide and stack again. We'll bring this on over, take one more sheet, which is the yellow plane. We'll turn back one page in our instructions, and here we are on page 3, focusing on layouts 3 and 4. Here from my accordion pocket file, I'll grab everything out of the pocket labeled 3 and 4. Sometimes it's tempting to grab from the wrong pocket, like you start on with layout 7 and 8 in front of you and you pull everything out of pocket 1 and 2, and it can be very confusing. So if it happens, number 1, you're not alone, and number 2, just put everything back in that pocket and go from the back to the front. That way, when we're done with this process, layout number 1 is in front of you, and if you want to start your assembly process, you can. And during that stage of the game, you just don't have to think quite so hard, which I really like. Okay, so for 3 and 4, I'm going to place this piece right on the left side here, almost centered, and then I'm going to put a little strip above and below that printed element. So those little border strips there from the cut aparts. Now above this, I'm going to create that file folder look by using this cute cut apart. And then you can ink the edges of this if you wish and pop dot that and put that right here, or you could leave it out, maybe put it here, and you could use a journaling pen to title your page just in that little spot. It's entirely up to you how you go about using that. And then across the bottom, we've got our other die cut that has the circle out of it. And I'm going to position this a little bit later when I have a free hand. So for now, I'll put the orange photo mats there. And then we have the light orange happening kind of in this lower left corner, that pair of 2-inch squares. Then you'll want to finish up here with the quote. Now on the right side, we trimmed, if you remember, that portion of the print. So I'll place those 2 pieces horizontally here. And then the landscape portion of the print goes across the bottom, kind of balance everything out. Oh, I forgot to mention, this orange guy separates the file topper from the border strip, just to add a little bit of that light orange shade. Dark orange here in the lower corner. So this is pretty low, it's pretty high, so this has room. Then we can build a little collage here with a pop dotted quote leading from the to the left, and then another tag going out to the right, so we can still see that sunset happening on that pretty element. And then this piece goes in the lower corner with some ribbon wrapped around it. And then over here in the right corner, you can add a set of 3 of these really beautiful sun beads. I just think they're so artistic, and I love the material and just the way that's etched in there with gold. Very, very pretty. I just attached mine with some bookbinding glue, or you could use a glue dot or even wax linen thread. You could sew them onto the page with wax linen. It's entirely up to you how you utilize them. Now this orange photo mat, I just slid right under here. Now what I'm hoping happens to me is that I happen to have a picture of a sunset kind of oriented to the left of the image, and I'm pretty sure I do actually. I'm gonna plan. I normally don't plan, but I think I'll plan to put a sunset picture here, and hopefully I can get some nice horizon kind of peeking through in that area of the die cuts. I mean, wouldn't that be awesome? I hope that works out for you as well. Now across the top on my finished layout, I got some things I want to show you. Let's see, page 4. I only finished this with some pop dots, and I'm using our foam adhesive circles for that, and then stapled the ribbon in half to the top of the tag, and then tied an actual bow onto the word piece. That was layout 4. On layout 3, here are my attached buttons. Looks like I put them within the orange area. Now across the top, do you see the numbers, which are kind of cool? And then you have the wheat coming into the background. That was created with Club Scrap's tangerine ink and the stencil in your kit. It has the numbers going across the top, and that's what I applied right here. So you can add tangerine ink with some numbers to sort of tie up together this beautiful, beautiful layout. All right, now I'm gonna do the slide and stack again. So this gets slid over to the right, and then now I will bring, I'm gonna take these beads away because they're kind of lumpy. Now in front of me, I have the base for layouts 1 and 2, and I will empty the contents of pocket 1 and 2. Okay, this should go pretty quickly. I've got a wider piece of that wildflower print placed on the left. I think I allowed about 1/8 of an inch reveal of the orange, and the same with this other piece on the right here. Then I did stretch some of this ribbon across. I'll talk a little bit more about that later. And then this swooping die cut, which I think is so cool. It kind of creates a fun spot to add another element, a journaling prompt, and we'll even finish over here with one of these sun charms. I believe I placed the hanging loop underneath the pop dotted golden circle here. Now we've got 2 purple photo mats that should nestle in there just like a puzzle piece. Fits perfectly. And then across the right page, I've got this really sweet little firefly border. There were a lot of fireflies in Wisconsin this summer. I'm not sure if you had them, but we had them, and it was so fun. Let's see. Okay, so 2 larger orange mats placed in the lower left corner, and then this 4x6 orange will nest on top of the larger purple here on the right. Then you can add a quote here, add a quote there, here a quote, there a quote, everywhere a quote. Oh my gosh, I think I have the Friday sillies. All right, this is the other sun charm. You can tuck that behind the pop dotted quote as well on the right side. Finished layouts, let's review. There it is attached, and there's my little sneakiness. The hanging loop is underneath this piece. Finally, on page 1, there's that hidden loop behind the circle. So pretty. Journaling prompt with some stapled ribbon. Now this piece is basically one piece of ribbon folded in half with the ends taped to the back. And then another piece of looped ribbon with the ends taped on the other side here. So it's actually a double length. I had plenty of ribbon to go around. I think we had 2 yards of that beautiful 7/8 inch satin and 2 yards of this and 1 yard of the silver edged grosgrain. So there's a lot of ribbon included, and you'll be able to finish these layouts beautifully without conserving ribbon at all. You could use even more in more places. And that, my friends, was layout 1 and 2, and that means if we just set aside these finished ones, okay, now if I slide or stack this onto page 1, everything's ready for assembly. And I know a lot of people do this. Like, they do this part when they are home, alone, where they have space to concentrate and think and pay attention to that trimming process. Once it reaches this point, you could pack it all up, add your ribbons and everything to the top, and reload the bag. I'm going to show you how to do that. So take this bag it came in and it has the sticky flap. You hold the bag up with the sticky side facing away from you, and you set that stickiness onto your work surface face down. Next, I'm going to pick everything up here. Flip the bottom of the bag up, and that leaves a nice opening, completely free of that sticky surface. So you can slide this right back into the bag. I call that the stick and flip. Now, what you could do if you tend to gather with friends, or maybe you have a buddy that you like to scrapbook with, you could prep this far. And then when you're together with your friend, you don't have to think so hard. You can maybe have a glass of wine and just enjoy that time. You can assemble everything, and all you really need is this and your basic tools like tape, adhesive, a ruler, maybe a stapler, and that's all you really need. So next I will take this and hand it off to Karen, where she will finish those pages, add photos, and blog about it later. We make an awesome team here at Club Scrap. So I hope you have somebody you can get together with. Make sure you share the love of Club Scrap, and I hope to see you right back here next month. Have a good one.